Part 2 showed that the Bible uses the language of the hand and forehead symbolically, representing actions and beliefs rather than physical markings. By comparing Revelation with Exodus and other passages, we learned that a mark or sign in Scripture often refers to inward allegiance expressed through outward obedience. This allowed us to rule out modern theories involving technology, implants, or digital identification, and to recognize that the real issue is worship and loyalty, not machinery or devices. With that foundation in place, we are now ready to move into Part 3, where we will explore the central question: what does the beast ultimately desire, and what exactly is his mark? By God's grace, we'll use the biblical principle of precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little, to draw our conclusion. We'll begin again by reading in Revelation chapters 13 and 14. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. We read the following in Revelation chapter 14, verses 6 to 12. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear God, and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. And there followed another angel, saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she had made all the nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels, and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up for ever and ever. And they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. The parallel language in Revelation chapter 13, verse 12, and verses 15 to 18, and Revelation chapter 14, verses 9 to 12, make it unmistakable that the beast's ultimate goal is worship. The repeated emphasis on who receives worship, who gives worship, and who refuses worship reveals the central issue of the final conflict. God likewise calls humanity to worship him alone, which means every person will be brought to a decisive choice. Revelation chapter 14, verse 7 reads, Saying with a loud voice, Fear God, and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. This verse calls humanity to fear God and worship him, grounding that call in his identity as the creator of heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. This language intentionally echoes the commandment as found in Exodus chapter 20, verses 8 to 11, which reads as, Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Revelation's call to worship the Creator stands in direct contrast to the worship demanded by the beast. Revelation chapter 14 verse 7 anchors true worship in God's identity as the maker of heaven, earth, the sea, and the fountains of waters. Language that echoes the fourth commandment and the Sabbath as the memorial of creation. This creation-based worship is rooted in acknowledging God's authority, remembering his works, and aligning both belief and behavior with his commandments. The beast, however, seeks to direct that worship by offering a counterfeit authority and a counterfeit system of obedience. The final conflict is therefore a clash between two forms of worship, one grounded in God's creative power and his law, and the other rooted in human authority and tradition. Understanding this contrast prepares us to identify what the beast offers in place of God's command and how that counterfeit becomes the mark tied to his system of worship. In part 1 of this series, we established the terms sign and mark. We established that they're used interchangeably in Scripture. In part 2, we uncovered that the mark is not literal but rather symbolic. And we are now drawing close to identifying what the beast mark really is. However, before we can do that, we must first determine whether God himself has a mark, because Scripture consistently presents the final conflict as a contrast between two signs, two loyalties, and two forms of worship. Understanding God's mark is essential to recognizing the counterfeit. Exodus chapter 31, verses 12 to 14 reads as, And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbaths ye shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am the Lord that doth sanctify you. Ye shall keep the Sabbath therefore, for it is holy unto you. Every one that defileth it shall surely be put to death, for whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. Ezekiel chapter 20, verses 19 and 20 read as, I am the Lord your God. Walk in my statutes and keep my judgments and do them. And hallow my Sabbaths, and they shall be a sign between me and you, that ye may know that I am the Lord your God. Exodus chapter 31, verses 12 to 14, and Ezekiel chapter 20, verses 19 to 20, both identify God's mark, his covenant sign, as the Sabbath, the seventh day of the week. Scripture presents this sign as the distinguishing mark of God's authority as creator and the outward expression of loyalty to him. With God's mark clearly established, we can now place it in contrast with the mark of the beast. We previously identified in Daniel chapter 7, verses 24 and 25, that the beast would think to change times and laws. There is only one commandment associated with time, and that is the fourth commandment found in Exodus chapter 20, verses 8 to 11, which we read earlier today. The fourth commandment identifies God as creator and establishes the Sabbath day as the seventh day of the week. Let's then ask the beast if he thought to change times and laws. By reviewing what the beast claims it has changed, and then asking the beast what its mark is, we allow the prophetic record and the beast's own admissions to reveal both its identity and the sign of its authority for anyone who has not yet recognized it. Let's now hear what the beast has to say. It is well to remind the Presbyterians, Baptists, Methodists, and all other Christians that the Bible does not support them anywhere in their observance of Sunday. Sunday is an institution of the Roman Catholic Church, and those who observe the day observe a commandment of the Catholic Church. This quote is from Priest Brady in an address reported in the Elizabeth, New Jersey News on March 18, 1903. The Roman Catholic Church has long proclaimed Sunday is our mark or authority. The Church is above the Bible, and this transference of Sabbath observance is proof of that fact. This quote is from the Catholic Record of London, Ontario, September 1st, 1923. Of course, the Catholic Church claims that the change was her act, and the act is a mark of her ecclesiastical power and authority in religious matters. It could not have been otherwise, as none in those days would have dreamed of doing anything in matters spiritual, ecclesiastical, and religious without her. This quote is from H. F. Thomas, a chancellor to Cardinal Gibbons, dated October 28, 1895. Question: what is the third commandment? Answer: the third commandment is, remember that thou keep holy the Sabbath day. Question: which is the Sabbath day? Answer: Saturday is the Sabbath day. Question: why do we observe Sunday instead of Saturday? Answer: we observe Sunday instead of Saturday because the Catholic Church, in the Council of Laodicea in AD 336, transferred the solemnity from Saturday to Sunday. This is taken from the Convert's Catechism of Catholic Doctrine, page 50. A comparison between the biblical Ten Commandments and the Catholic catechetical version shows that changes have indeed been made, fulfilling the prophecy that they would think to change times and laws. The second commandment has been removed. The biblical fourth commandment has been shifted to the third position, and the specific day of Sabbath observance, the seventh day of the week, has been omitted. Finally, to compensate for the removal of the biblical second commandment, the 10th commandment has been divided into two. Today, we have brought the central issue of the great controversy into full view: worship and authority. Scripture shows that God has a mark, his Sabbath, the seventh day, which he identifies as a sign of his creative power and covenant relationship. In contrast, prophecy reveals a power that seeks worship by altering the very commandment that points to God as creator. Daniel chapter 7 verse 25 foretold that this power would attempt to change God's times and laws, and history records its own admission that shifting the day of worship to Sunday is the symbol of its claimed authority. By comparing God's seal with the beast counterfeit, the contrast becomes unmistakable. One is rooted in God's unchanging law, the other in human tradition elevated above Scripture. Part 3, therefore, establishes the foundation for understanding the final issue: two marks, two authorities, and two forms of worship, setting the stage for Part 4, where we will explore how this choice plays out in the lives of believers and in the closing events of Earth's history.